Both the journey and the destination are important in life coaching. We need to know where we're going. However, if we can focus on the journey and find enjoyment in the process, we're more likely to reach that destination. Imagine you're in a canoe and you need to cross the lake before sunset. If your attention is only on the far shore, you may miss the motorboat coming toward you, or the tangle of weeds clinging to your oar. On the other hand, if you never look up from your paddling, you could find yourself completely off target or going around in circles. The ideal balance is to focus on the action of paddling and to occasionally orient yourself toward your destination. In motivational interviewing, OARS, OARS, are the core skills within the journey of coaching. O stands for open-ended questions, A is for affirmations, R stands for reflections, and S is for summaries. We've already discussed open-ended questions. They cannot be answered with one or two words. Open-ended questions require the coach to use the higher levels of listening. If the coach asks a question and is expecting a particular answer, the conversation stalls. After asking open-ended questions, the coach might become uncomfortable in the silence as the client is thinking. It is tempting to add on possibilities to the back end of a question. This transforms the open-ended question into a multiple choice question. For example, a coach might ask, "What would you like to do as a replacement for screen time?" Then, after just a second of silence, the coach suggests, perhaps going for a walk, engaging in a hobby, or watching fish in an aquarium. During the silence after a question, the coach can occupy themselves by counting their breaths and sending out energy of calm acceptance to the client. The intention is to provide patient presence while the client forms their answer. The coach could also imagine the question traveling from the client's ears to their brain before combining with various bits of information to form an answer. Then imagine the answer traveling through the brain to the tongue. With open-ended questions, the coach must be willing to follow the client. The client's answer becomes the current, and it is always best to paddle with the current rather than against it. Affirmations serve a vital role within the coaching process. Our culture often underestimates the value of affirming language. Many people associate affirmations with false positivity and shortcuts to self-esteem and empowerment. Humans don't always see their strengths. We're busy comparing ourselves to others or identifying our weaknesses so we can improve. We do this partly because our brains are looking for danger and filtering everything else out. If we do something well, there's no need to pay attention to it. Another reason we focus on our weaknesses is that we assume if something is easy for us, it is also easy for everyone. It's hard to see our strengths unless someone else points out how skilled we are at a task. One of the tasks of a coach is to observe those strengths and share those observations with the client. The client can then build on those strengths as they work toward change. The coach can also affirm the client's progress or reframe negative self-talk in a way that affirms the client's strengths. Many habits that clients want to change start off as a way of managing difficult emotions or trauma. If a client is berating themselves for their screen time, the coach can say, "Did you notice that this week you caught yourself on your phone more than last week? This means that you were aware of your behavior. It wasn't mindless scrolling. This is progress. Now let's build on that progress for this week." Consider affirmations the way you adjust your paddling technique so you are paddling smarter rather than harder. Affirmations improve the efficiency of the journey. Reflections are statements that let the client know that you are listening. They can be used to confirm that the coach is comprehending what the client is communicating. They can also subtly direct the conversation in a particular direction. A simple reflection might repeat a key phrase from what the client has said. This encourages the client to continue talking about that topic. For example, if a client has mentioned both their emotion around a problem and a possible solution, reflecting the solution can move the conversation toward action, while reflecting the emotion can heighten those feelings. It is important to convey neutrality through the voice when reflecting. If there is an inflection at the end of the reflection, it can also sound like a question. This type of question often makes us feel like we need to justify or rationalize what we just said. It often puts the client on the defensive. Notice the difference in your body when the following reflections are voiced as a question versus a statement. You're feeling angry? You're feeling angry. You think you'd be more productive with a schedule change? You think you'd be more productive with a schedule change. Think of reflections as the tiny course corrections you make as you're paddling. You glance at your destination and either continue paddling in the same direction or adjust slightly by adding a little more power to one side of your paddle stroke. You don't want to get halfway across the lake and realize you need to make a 90-degree turn in order to get to your destination. The most seamless coaching conversations have a rhythm to them that include these tiny course corrections provided by reflections. In motivational interviewing, Miller and Rolnick suggest a beginning rhythm of ORR. ORR make two reflective statements for each open-ended question. This can be a tool for the coach to make sure they don't fall into the trap of only asking questions, which can feel like an interrogation rather than a conversation. The fourth and final core skill of motivational interviewing is summarizing. A summary pulls together several different bits of information. It can combine several reflections and even reflections with affirmations. It can also serve as a pivot point in the conversation if needed. A summary allows the client to hear a concise version of different parts of their story in a new order or combination. Miller and Rolnick describe four different types of summaries: collecting, linking, transitional, and ambivalence. A collecting summary lists three or more reflected bits of information and then asks, what else? For example, you were hoping to move more, engaging more in your hobbies, and connect more with friends. What else do you hope to gain from reducing your screen time? A linking summary combines a current reflection with a reflection from a previous conversation. For example, you realized you pick up your phone when you need to shift your attention from a problem at work. I remember you told me about your attention being captured by a hummingbird on a hike. I wonder if there is a similarity there. A transitional summary is used to pivot from one activity to another, including bringing a close to a coaching session. It starts with an orienting statement about the next activity. For example, well, you remember I said at the beginning of our session today that we would do two separate activities. Before we switch to the second activity, let me summarize what we've done in this first activity. An ambivalent summary is used to pull together the client's change talk and sustain talk in one paragraph. List several reflections of the client's change talk, and then list several reflections of the client's sustain talk. At the end, state the existence of the push and pull that both are true at the same time. For example, the concern of screen time evokes some conflicting feelings for you. On the one hand, you appreciate the ability to find the answers to many of your questions, maintain your calendar, and stay in contact with family. At the same time, you feel less creative, active, and engaging when you mindlessly reach for your device. You want to keep your screen time habits and change them at the same time. Both thoughts are true for you, and it leaves you feeling confused and stuck. Summaries allow the client to engage with their own thoughts, emotions, and motivations in a new way. Think of summaries as a way to provide a bird's eye view or instant replay of the journey to the shore. As you practice each of these skills, you'll find your own rhythm. You'll work in tandem with your client, letting them do most of the paddling while you dip your oars in to steer and course correct as needed.